Baseball is a funny sport, especially when the Toronto Blue Jays are involved. Now, the best way I can describe what they did in Game 6 and Game 7 against the Dodgers was unfulfilling. They not say they choked, but they had the Dodgers down. They were down, and he let them back up. They had two men on with one man out in Game's sixth, ninth inning. Barger was caught off second base. They led going into the ninth inning last night. One out, I think one strike, or 4 or 5 strikes away. And that fucking solo home run did us in again. And, Smith later on. But Guerrero had ample opportunity to give Toronto a insurance run. To beat the Dodgers, you got to score, 5 runs or more. And he didn't do that. But everybody's heaping praise on the Blue Jays and, Canada's team, we're proud of you and all that. Well, they're not really being objective, are we? I have to be objective. They choked in 85. They choked in 87. They kind of choke in, the Oakland A's years, 89. They choked in 91 against the Twins. They should have went farther in 2015 and 16 with Donaldson, Encarnacion, and Tulowitzki and Bautista. And in recent playoff runs, they've lost in the first round. He never won a playoff game in about 10 years until beating the Yankees. Now, no disrespect. It took 7 games to beat Seattle, where they were the superior team. They lost the first 2 games to Seattle, okay? Yankees, Guerrero does well. But for some friggin' reason, when they're on the road, their Blue Jays are a better team. When they're at home, you can't say this is a successful playoff run in the World Series because he lost 3 games in the World Series at home, and he still had a chance to win in Game 7. Now, whether you think that the play at home, if the catcher was off the plate with his foot, it looked like he was out, but it could be a tie and a different angle. There's no way in the world that in 2025, a bot team like the LA Dodgers should have been up against it by a team that basically is not say as a bot team, but it's a team is like a mid-level squad. The problem is with the Blue Jays, ladies and gentlemen, it's like a big poker game, Major League Baseball. They lose at the last hand. You can't play poker like that. If you're going to walk away to the table, make sure you change a few 20s or 50s so you have a little bit of profit to leave. We all know Schneider is not a very good coach. He never has been. He made decisions in the playoffs that made absolutely no sense. He brought in Dominguez. He could have kept your Savage in relief for another inning. No, he took him out, put in Hoffman, and you see what Hoffman did. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's just put this in perspective. The 2021 Montreal Canadiens went all the way to Stanley Cup Final, but they overachieved. They were behind Toronto 3-1 in the first round. And what did he do, ladies and gentlemen? They went all the way against Tampa Bay. There's no way Montreal was going to lose at Tampa Bay. So being the best in the East, or what they call the Campbell Bowl, made a lot of sense. But you look at Montreal's runs in the playoffs, especially in the final run. There's a reason why Montreal never lost a Stanley Cup up until 1989 or in the final round, besides Tampa Bay, because they had the killer instinct. Yeah, sure, they had Lafleur, Shutt, Lemaire, and Mahovlich and all the key players, but it came down to it, they would put away their opponent. Okay? Bichette were trying to run most of the game on the 3-0 lead, and you can't give Dodgers a chance to see, they're the champion. And I give you the allegory. Jimmy Young didn't do enough to beat Ali, even though he won the fight. Okay? He should have tried to knock him out. Ernie Shavers didn't do enough against Larry Holmes to win the match. Neither did Ken Norton. That's the only analogy I can give is like boxing. Now, will the Toronto Blue Jays of 2025 ever come? Will there ever another Blue Jay team like them? No. Bichette could be out the door. But you look at the key situations. I'm glad Guerrero had all those home runs. But he needed to be a single hitter. Yes, he got a double when they were trailing in that inning. But they should have got a pinch hitter for Kirk because he's speeding the bait pass. You got Heineman, okay? Nothing wrong taking out Kirk. I knew for sure he was going to hit the double play. That's what he does. But, they exhausted every effort. Now, Don Mattingly could be an option. I'm not saying to fire John Schneider, but you got to find a way to give more effort to Mattingly and the whole situation. So, should Toronto have beaten the Yankees? Yes. Should Toronto have beaten the Mariners? Yes. Like a lack of killer instinct, that game went 18 innings. Ladies and gentlemen, he had bases loaded, different stuff. Toronto had no killer instinct. It's like, oh, we're just glad to be here. You can't do that. You got to keep your opponent down. You think that Ali, when he fought all those major fights, put his opponent over him. He had the best trainers. Sometimes he'd pick his fighters. He had to crawl all the way back. A killer instinct, like I said, you got to think sometimes more like a boxer. The LA Dodgers are almost like a combination of Roberto Duran and Marvin Hagler. I mean, they're champions. There's a reason why they're 3-time World Series champions, the team of the 2020s. Yes, they bought their team, but these are players that know how to win. Okay? Mookie Betts knew how to win with Boston. Smith is very, very good on the defensive and offensive side. Shohei Ohtani, I mean, we showed how flawed he was, but when he was on. He had 2 home runs in that big game that went extra innings. But ladies and gentlemen, all I'm saying like this, you can't just be glad to be there. If you want to win anything, winning is all about life. When I used to go for awards as a journalist when I was working full time as a daily reporter, I tried to reach goals for myself, and I outlasted my competition. The only reason I won the awards because everybody else wouldn't be ready to make the sacrifice. Pinch hitting for Kirk was one. Getting like Clement had a lot of hits in the postseason. Barger had a lot of hits, but like I said, they're streaky hitters. And one of the announcers for the U2 basically said most players in Toronto, when they're good, and when they're bad, it's frustrating. It was almost like with the Toronto batters, it was like Mitch Williams in 1993. Now that was a team, 1993, where they picked up Molitor and Carter through trade and Alomar. Those were winners. You can't just win a series and hope to be happy with that. Juggler, you got to go for the juggler. So I'm heavily disappointed the Blue Jays lost. I'm going to leave the comments open. I'd like to hear what you think, because you can look at it in a perspective. They were a team trying to beat a dynasty. Okay? Boston Bruins, mid-1970s, were a team. They were trying to beat a dynasty, and that's a lot of parallels. The Dodgers of the 40s and 50s and early 60s, the A's of the 70s, you got to go for the juggler no matter who you're beating. 3 different type of opponents the A's defeated in 72, 73, and 75. The early Big Red Machine, the team in the Mets, and the rising dynasty of the Dodgers. Killer instinct, ladies and gentlemen. You got to have good coaching, and John Schneider's not a good manager. Bring in Mattingly. I don't even know how we recover from this, ladies and gentlemen. We might as well fold the franchise, because they're not going to get back to the level they were in the World Series. It took, 32 years. Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, like we're doing here, we're a Sports File podcast. Let us know what a like, comment, subscribe, or share.